Hi there, Trailblazer. It has been a hot minute since I've been on here talking with you. I wanted to speak to you today about performative versus personality-filled, playful brand identity. Why do we want to talk about that? Well, with everything that's happening with AI and really the ability for people to be able to be present in their brand a lot more consistently and a lot louder and a lot more, people can be much more prolific in their postings these days because they have the assistance of AI and a lot of trend-setting kind of content that they can share. The problem with that is that when we have somebody else or a trend doing the thinking for us, we end up really looking like everybody else once again. The age-old problem. We want to actually fit in, but we actually can't fit in too much because then we don't get to be seen as any different from anybody else out there in the world. And if you're in business particularly or in leadership roles, really standing out and being true to yourself in your point of difference is the thing that's going to matter the most. It has in the past and it will going forward, and even more so going forward because of how prolific people can be these days, and they don't have to even show up. AI could do the videos and the photos for you and the copy. You don't even have to show up. So you could be a completely different person in person and then show up in a totally different way online, and nobody would know the wiser until they meet with you. And then it would be really a problem. So the reason I wanted to talk about this is that there's this fine line. And I've been having a number of these conversations lately, and it's how do we show up and be consistent with our work, but be really true to who we are, and also deal with all of the challenges that come with showing up truthfully and really honouring who you are as a person, while also managing the highs and lows of business. Because there are highs and lows of being a leader in your field and serving, especially service providers, and then how we show up in our brand identity, because our brand identity is very much aligned with who we are as a person. And if it isn't, then you've got some real challenges ahead of you. And so the challenge, what I see, is that when people rely on outside sources, and that would be AI, that would be even your coach, even your photographer, even anybody who is providing and creating content for you, a lot of the times, not all the time, but a lot of the times, when I'm looking at that type of content that someone's producing, regularly on their channels, I can often see the service provider before the actual client, the person whose content it is. And I have often said this throughout the years, is that when I see a lot of photography out there, I often can see the photographer before I can see the person. Because what gets in the way is a lot of the structure and the systems that the photographer uses to create a photograph in the first place. And it's almost like the client comes second or third, or maybe even further than that. And that's why you'll often see with a lot of my work is I don't have a lot of styling behind you in photos. I don't want to distract people from who you are personally. And sometimes I wonder, I don't hear this from people, but I'm trying to tap into what's also going on out there in the world. And I suspect that there is also this unconscious thing happening for people when they see work, particularly like mine, where people are quite expressive and they're quite bold, because the reaction for people is often, I can't be like that. I'm not like that. I don't want to be like that, because I'm not really like that in person. But when you're actually talking to them, you realize they are actually that type of person. When they're actually there and the walls are down and the mask is off, but they don't ever see themselves that way. And so they assume that when they see photos of other people doing those kind of things in their own brand identity, they assume that they're being performative, that they're pretending, that they're putting on a show, but they're not actually. They're just being themselves, like really, truly themselves. Like when all the masks are pulled away, that is who they are, when they actually allow themselves to just, really let go. And don't we all want our clients to be able to see us that way? Don't we want our colleagues and our friends and even our family to be able to see us that way as well? And behind closed doors, we potentially are showing that version of ourselves. But then really the sadness is that for a lot of us, we don't even show the true side of ourselves to even the closest ones around us in fear of what could happen. Rejection is a big driver with this. And so there's this real mishmash, and I'm trying to sort it out in my own brain of what's actually going on. Like, I love getting into the nitty-gritty of this kind of stuff, right? Because, who knows what's actually happening in people's heads, but I like to kind of almost drill down into it and talk to different people and ask the questions. And so the consistent thing that's coming up is that people are using a lot of AI, and they're using a lot of service providers that are directing them in how they think they should show up and what they should curate for their visual and brand identity. But they're not asking the questions of themselves too much. It's not coming from within. And so when we are outsourcing our brand identity, our visual identity, the source of our identity, oftentimes it can get layered and flavored and influenced by the people around us. And that's going to happen naturally anyway. We're human beings. But I really would caution you in outsourcing that even more so deliberately to things like ChatGPT, because ChatGPT will only really bring back for you what you put into it. And if you're putting into it all of your biases, all of your restrictions and things that hold you back anyway, you're going to get a really warped kind of version back. It might feel like it has, some sense of truth to it, and it does to some degree, but it's not filtering everything. And so I want you to really start to have a look at what you're producing for your own brand and your marketing, your copy, your photographs, your videos, and how you're showing up with your presence online and offline. If you're neurodivergent like I am, then, your neurospiciness will show up in a lot of masking and people-pleasing potentially, or, try and recover from that, which I'm trying to do. But masking is a big factor for a lot of our brains. And so it can be an interesting mix of how you do that then with how you show up in your visuals and in your messaging. And you need to find the right people who you can bounce those ideas off so that you can get these mirrors coming back to you that aren't mirroring the other person as well. And you'll know when that's happening. You'll know because you'll get the advice from somebody and you'll go, that doesn't feel quite right. But okay, we'll go with that. I have done that many times over, I have to say, and I know what it's like, because you want to tap into something, right? You want to be sure of something. You want to know some way forward that you can take with confidence. And so you rely on these mirrored conversations that come back to you, either AI or if it's another person. So be really selective with who you choose for that. I do this a lot with my clients. probably 80% of my work is this work. The 20% is the photography itself, right? So when people see these kind of images and the photographs I take of my clients like this, they will often think that the people in these photos are just performing a role. They're performing they're miming out something. And to be perfectly honest, if you ask the people in these photos, they will often say to you, to be honest, I was completely distracted while I was doing these photos. I was dancing in the middle of a dance. I was not even trying to perform out something at all. I was just trying to embody something that was coming from within me. And this is what I want you to ask more of yourself, is how can you step up more into your brand identity with a real truth and authenticity to it. Takes guts to do that. Like, it takes a real level of guts that you're willing to strip back a lot of the masks and be willing to be seen in a way that maybe you could appear a little bit silly to some people. I'm sure that some people see the photos that you see on the screen here and think, what are these people even thinking? What are they doing? And then there are other people who are like, oh my God, I want photos like that. I want to look like that. I want to feel like that. And the reality is that you can't copy any of these photos that I've got on the screen. We need to find the photo and the messaging that's right for you and your brand identity. Don't outsource it. Don't try and find a trend or a formula. Push back from that if you can. Like, push back from that and ask, well, what else could this look like? If it was truly me dialed up 100%, what would that look like? What would that feel like? What would that sound like? And then you start to get closer to it. So get curious. Get curious about how your presence shows up online and offline and how you can really challenge it. I know that there'll be some of you listening going, hell yeah, and there'll be some of you going, I don't know whether I got time for that. The reality is that in 2025, where AI is taking off and people are able to post way more easily than ever, competition is fierce. Competition is so fierce right now. And people are tired of all of the crap. People are tired of seeing the same old crap, and they're tired of seeing AI that looks and feels a little bit, there's just something not quite right about it. There's something that doesn't have a playfulness to it. And it's something you cannot bottle in an AI system. The reality is that it's bottled within you. The reality is that we need to say reality is less often. I just realized I've been saying that a lot. The thing is, you just need to find someone who can unbottle it for you. And I can be that person for you if you like. Okay, good luck. It's not easy, but I promise you it's liberating once you can step into this type of work, and it can really create an avalanche of opportunities, ideas, creativity going forward. Have fun with it.